Welcome, everybody, to Moose Milk Podcast, episode 11. That's right, we're at 11 already. I'll be your host, Ryan, waiting for Matt to join me. But, yeah, thanks for coming late night, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to talk Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 1. And, yeah, anything else that strikes our fancy. There's Matthew right now. Punctual Pete, as some would say.
Technically not punctual Pete because it's 10:01, so...
Well, I have to go live before you can join me, so you're as punctual as I am punctual.
Unacceptable.
You're fired. It's me and Finnegan's podcast now.
Peace out, motherfucker.
What's up, buddy?
Doing good, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm having one of my fasting days. I'm doing that, like, intermittent fasting, so I do, like, 2 days a week where I don't eat at all, and it's, like, fucking sucks, man.
I think I could do that pretty easily, because, like, I usually only eat once a day.
Really?
Yeah.
I suppose part of being like a stoner is like I always want to eat food, right?
Oh, totally.
So it's hard.
I don't smoke anymore, really, so
yeah.
Like, yeah, when I smoke, I want to eat everything constantly, so I totally get that.
Yeah, but it's hard because like that was the hard part. I used to try doing like the 16 and 8 rule, so it's like you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8. But that was the problem, is in the evening I would always cheat, and I'm like, if you're even cheating a little bit, it's not worth it. So it's just, so I figured I'd try this and see how it went. So this is like week 4 or 3, I think. So that sucks.
Do you feel like it works, or do you feel like?
I think it's too early to say. Really, I've probably another couple weeks before I really can tell. But I can get through the day. It sucks, but I can do it. So
yeah. I mean, I love food, but like, I mean, COVID's definitely made my weight go way up, so I definitely
don't really get out and do anything, and it's way easier to give yourself a pass on not getting out and doing anything.
Oh, I had a rough day at work. I'm going to eat 5 donuts. Thank you. You know, it's bad.
Yeah, I get you.
So anyway, people that are joining us, we are definitely going to talk Falcon and Winter Soldier. We haven't talked at all, me and Matt, about what our thoughts are or anything, so this is definitely going to be spontaneous. But the spoilers will be in here, so if you haven't watched the first episode, go watch that and then bounce back over to YouTube, and the video will be up early this morning.
Watch it on there and subscribe.
Yeah, do that, like he said.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I mean, honestly, like, it wasn't like earth-shattering. It was just like, it just reminded me of like MCU, but maybe a bit more drawn out.
Did you watch it multiple times?
I watched it. I just finished watching it again. Watching it with Kate is the funniest fucking thing. Like, she's such an undercover hater, but it's like the one part where it's like, so Sam and his sister are like in the kitchen talking about the bank appointment, whatever, and Sam's just like, oh shit, I gotta go. He looks at his watch or whatever, or we're gonna be late or something, and then the sister goes, oh yeah, or whatever, right? So like throughout the whole time, every time there was something that would happen in the show, Kate would just look at me and be like, oh.
I do agree with her, though. Like, there was a lot of the episode that I felt the dialogue was pretty cheesy.
She definitely thought that way. And until she called it out, I didn't really notice it. But again, I was just, yeah.
So I'll just put it this way. I watched it twice as well, and this is the first time I've doubled up on an episode since, I didn't watch any WandaVision 2 times or anything like that. I got home from work. I had a really bad night at work, so I came home. I work midnights, for anybody that doesn't know. I came home and had like 5 beers, and and then I watched it, and I was like feeling pretty drunk. So like, I honestly, after the first time I watched it, I was like, I didn't like that at all. Like, it was fine, but it didn't do anything revolutionary. It felt very generic. So on and so forth. But then I watched it the second time, and I'm like, there are like really cool character moments sprinkled throughout that like I really enjoyed, and I thought was pretty thoughtful of them including. Like when you first see Winter Soldier wake up from his like nightmare or whatever, and he's sleeping like on the floor in the middle of his living room. I kind of like I was like, oh yeah, like him and Cap kind of talked about like the hardness of the beds, or I think it was him and Falcon talked about the hardness of the beds after like leaving the army. And like coming home and all the beds are too soft and stuff like that, and then he's sleeping on a wooden floor. And I'm like, see, it's kind of thoughtful. Like he's an army man too. They're keeping that intact, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was stuff like that where I really appreciated it. And like I liked Winter Soldier like having I have to rectify all the damage I've done by befriending this old Asian man. That I killed his son of, and I like that relationship, and I hope that continues on throughout the series because like I thought it was pretty touching, and like we didn't get really anything of Sam other than his family, and I couldn't stand his family moments.
They seemed a bit overdone, yeah, but
we're talking about a guy that basically just helped save the world, and you're like picking at him that. He wasn't around for the last 5 years, and you're like picking at him about not supporting the family. And I'm like, dude, he wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for people like him. Like,
yeah, but I mean, I think something to consider is like, first of all, I have to say, I have to applaud the MCU for going back and revisiting and talking about all of the 5 years of people being gone, because I remember most people were saying, oh yeah, they're gonna just toss that away and never bring it up again. And now it seems like that's gonna be a big part of this whole thing, right?
Well, I think for every character, whether they were snapped away or not snapped away, there's like definitely a moment that you can relate to of like, yeah, if your entire family got snapped away, what emotional effect does that have on you? What emotional effect does it have on the people that were snapped? What does all of a sudden millions and millions of people coming back to a reality, how does that affect the world? How does that change relationships, marriages, families, jobs, so on and so forth? And I think that's a fascinating way to look at it. But like, I also just didn't really like that. Like, people are just like, whatever, you saved the world. Like, fuck you. Like, the bank dude basically just gave him the middle finger. It's like, oh, you didn't make any money? See ya. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's not how things would work. Like,
but again, though, who's to say? Like, we don't know. Like, I mean, of course, what he said about having all these people come back, like that makes sense to me. Where he says, we just can't support that many more people. Like, things got way tighter, right? And like, to me, like that doesn't seem that far fetched. Like, banks can help as much as they can, but if all of a sudden the demand doubles, what can they do, right?
And I do get that. Like, I mean, I can relate to that in the way of like just seeing Windsor booming right now and the housing market the way it is, and more people coming into the city, which just raises demand, and then all the housing pricing going up and everything like that. Like, I totally understand what they're talking about, and that I get it. It's economics or whatever, but I really just felt like, okay, this is a military guy that's doing like missions for the military still. He's part of, I would assume, still the Avengers or whatever form that is taking on at the current time. But you're not going to give this guy a bank loan for probably a piddly amount of money because it's to save a boat. Like
again, though, like it's so hard to say because, like, given those circumstances, you don't know how times could be, right? Like, things that could change. Like, if 50% of the population left, then the world got used to the new 50% of the population living in that world. And then all of a sudden, everyone came back after 5 years of being adjusted to that. Like, I could understand that totally, right? Like, it's not too far out of the realm to me to really make me be like, that's weird. Like, I think the thing I liked about it was I felt like it showcased a different side of the superhero piece. The part about that I liked, it showed like the hardships of like, look, this guy like gave up his everything to be able to like stand by other heroes and like save the world, and like yet that only brings you so far. Like, that can only bring you.
don't you think that, like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw it out there, Nike would have, like, gave this guy a commercial or, like, you know.
Yeah, maybe, but again, maybe, you know, again, maybe losing that 50%, like, again, a lot of things could change even just in business, right?
Like, I mean, if this guy wanted to, he could do pretty much anything he wants. Like, it just felt like, the same with Winter Soldier. I'm like, dude, the NFL would take you in a minute. You could have, like, this, like, super great aim. You could be an NFL star. Yeah, exactly. Like if we're going to base
this quarterback in the game.
If you're going to base it in super realistic terms, like, these guys would be millionaires because every corporation on earth would be like, dude, can we sponsor you to, like, promote pizza so that we can sell more pizza? Hey, do you want to do a Subway commercial?
That reference doesn't make sense to everybody. Do you know that we didn't have pizza here until like a year and a half or 2 years ago?
Well, you're not missing anything. Pizza sucks.
I agree. Terrible. I remember I had it when it came here and I was like, no, yeah, that still sucks.
It's corporate pizza. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get that they're trying to, like, I guess in a long form show like this, they do kind of have to develop something. And, like, to me, what I felt like they were kind of just filling us in on where Sam and Buck are now and, like, the current things that they're struggling with in their life on a personal level. And I can imagine that as this goes on, these storylines will kind of jump in and out of the main storyline of whatever that is.
But we do only have 6 episodes.
Yeah, I know.
And I felt like this episode did not move the plot forward really at all. Like,
I felt like it set it up enough. So what I got out of this episode was Sam's still active and working with the military, still doing missions, and got a sweet new upgrade on his suit. Looks badass. I love it.
It does. It looks dope.
And he also has personal struggles with his family. So it shows that he kind of, like, has those, you know, as much as he seems like he's, like, cool and collected and all together on the outside, he really has, like, all these
yeah, but, like,
issues.
What's the villain? Like,
well,
GSP's going to be the villain?
No. So, but, like, they're setting up the, what are they called? Flag smashers or flag killers or
whatever they're called. It's a terrible name, regardless. It's super cheesy.
It's a comic book thing, so it is. It is from
100%. As soon as I heard it, I was like, that has to be straight out of a comic book.
But I don't know.
I like that aspect of, like, yeah, there would be a group of people that were going to be like, no, Thanos was right, like 1,000%. Things were way better during the snap, and like, you know, less pollution, the environment was better. I made more money, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Like, there would be a group of people that came forward and was like, no, this is worse than it was. And I like that aspect, but I mean, like, I don't know what that necessarily means. Like, they didn't really set up, like, what the villains were going to want to achieve during this thing. And, like, the opening GSP scene, I was just like, oh, it's okay.
How did you know? I thought it was fantastic. I was like, really? This is what we're opening with? That's great. I thought it was good. It was action-packed. It was fun. I thought it was fun.
I mean, some of it was fine, but, like, it just, I don't know, it just was very generic and very, like, I don't know, over-choreographed, where I was just like, this looks very fake.
I didn't feel that way at all. I thought it was pretty fun. I actually thought it was probably one of the most fun sequences of the whole movie. I liked it. I just thought it was nice to, like, get right into an action scene. I was like, sweet. Got shit blowing up and flying.
Maybe I'm sour on it just because I spent the week I rewatched all 3 Captain America movies and Infinity War and Endgame. And it doesn't compare. Like,
wow. I think if we're comparing Winter Soldier and Falcon to Infinity War, I think we're all in to be disappointed. Like,
yeah, but I mean, Disney has infinite money.
I understand that, but everything can't be a fucking blockbuster. Like, you just can't do that. It's too much.
I think it can.
I don't think you can.
You can. If I had billions of dollars, it could be a blockbuster every time.
Because then it's just like, where does it go? Like, how you?
Well, no, you need character development. Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm not saying 50 minutes of action. I'm just saying, like, it just looked very CGI at a lot of parts. It looked like green screen as fuck.
Yeah. Again, they could have had to be restricted to that with COVID too, right?
Yeah, it could be. Very well could be. But I don't know. Like, it was fine. It wasn't, like, bad. It was just, it didn't blow me away.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. I thought it like set up the story enough that we are now familiar with what Sam and Bucky are up to, and then now we need to find out how they come together again, because obviously something's going to happen that's going to bring them together again. So,
well, it has to be the Captain America thing, right?
Yes, definitely. So I'm sure that'll be, they've kind of set that up for the next episode, and
yeah, I mean, the new Captain America is whatever bestowed the honor of being the new Captain America by the government of, the United States or whatever. I assume that's going to be some kind of villain at some point. Like I got to assume he's corrupt or something.
So I don't know the full story for the comic books, but it's U.S. Agent in the comic books is what it is. That's the character's name, yeah. And basically he comes in as a replacement Captain America, or a second Captain America, maybe? I don't remember exactly. And I do think there is some history in the comics of him with like shady past, but I also think there's other ones where he's kind of like straightened out, or where that was not the case. I can't really remember. But I know that I do think that he does have some kind of like shady history. In this, I don't know what they'll do. My bigger question is like, did they give him like some kind of enhancement? Like, that's the part I'm curious about, right? Because even with like Falcon, right? Like, to me, that would be my biggest question with Falcon, would be like, he's just a human with a jetpack. Like, I guess that he's military trained, but I'm sure other people are too, right? Not to take anything away from Anthony Mackie, because I quite like him, but
Anthony Mackie is awesome, and I love his character, and I love him as an actor. But no, I totally agree with you. It's the same thing I've always felt about like Black Widow and Hawkeye. It's like they're kind of just people. Like Hawkeye has this strange ability to be able to like whatever hit everything he shoots at, but like it's not like he has some like super strength or like he's obviously like trained in some kind of martial arts or whatever, but like he's just a dude. Same with Black Widow, like she's a badass, super spy or whatever, but she's not like.
I mean, that's the end of the day. Is like when you put one of those guys against a character like Hulk.
Yeah,
he just like sneezes on them and they're done. Like,
sure, but like even like Iron Man was just a dude.
Yeah, I mean, but Iron Man has the tech though, which puts him at an advantage, right?
And I agree, but like, I mean, that's basically Falcon, right? He's a dude with tech.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they may stray too far into everything looking Iron Man-y. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Iron Man suit basically is Spider-Man suit. Falcon suit is now becoming basically another Iron Man suit. Like,
Yep.
I think it kind of strays too far into everything looking like Stark tech. And I think they should kind of try to differentiate it now that Stark's gone, is like there are, other things they can do with it.
Between Alien and Wakandan, there's definitely lots of new options. Yeah.
Some really badass Wakanda tech would be awesome.
Fuck yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get to see more of what Bucky's arm can do in this, because apparently Bucky's arm in the comic books, there was like a prequel comic or something to Infinity War. I can't remember, one of the main MCU movies. And it was just like basically like a little lead up thing. And there was a thing about how Winter Soldier's arm has like more features that like don't, like, it's not just an arm, like it can do other stuff too. So it'd be cool to see if they do. What's that?
They never showed his arm
in this episode. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Well, they did, but they did a good job of trying to hide it. But when he woke up, they showed it. And then when he was Winter Soldier, like in his dream, they showed it.
Right. But I mean, like the entire date, he was wearing that like long jacket and gloves. Like he seems to be really trying to hide it. So that did lead me to assume that there is something that they're trying to cover up, that like his arm has new tech or something.
Maybe.
That was my assumption, but like I did notice that, like the entire date scene with the Asian girl, I don't think they ever gave her a name.
No, I don't think so.
Like it was a super cute date, and I kind of was bummed that he just kind of bounced on her nonchalantly, but he was covered up that entire time, and like every time she'd ask him a question about like his gloves, why are you wearing gloves? He was like, oh, I have bad whatever blood circulation or something like that. And like, how old are you? I'm 106. And like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, But don't you think these people would kind of know who he is after being in the Infinity War?
I thought that, but I mean, he's not the most recognizable. And really, when he was in the mainstream, when he was Winter Soldier, he wore a mask.
Sure.
I mean, yes, definitely. I think he would be recognizable enough for sure. Yeah, I do.
But I mean, I guess he was kind of like hidden in Wakanda for whatever length of time between, before Infinity War, and then he was gone for 5 years. So, I mean, we are looking at probably like 7-8 years since he's been in the public eye or whatever. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
I don't know. I liked the little date.
So did I. I thought it was super cute.
I did too.
And just sitting at a bar playing Battleship, I'm like, yeah, why can't I have dates like this? This is awesome. I love Battleship.
I hate Battleship. Kate's like, we should get Battleship. I was like, I fucking hate Battleship.
You hate all games, though.
I know, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yes, it does. You're the least competitive person alive.
That's also true.
Every time we ever play a game with you, you're like, I lost.
No one ever. It sucks because my main group of friends are like all so competitive, and I'm like the least competitive. Like I remember more content losing.
Me and you, Craig and DJ, were at Craig's house playing like quarters or something. I don't know, whatever dumb game we were playing, and like I was so competitive. Craig was so competitive, and you're just sitting there like, whatever. I lost.
Pass the doobie.
I
love it. Yeah, but I don't know. I liked this show. I thought it was a good start. I disagree with you. I feel like it set up enough to get us going. And don't get me wrong. Do I wish there was a bit more action in it? Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I have to expect that every episode is not going to be just action packed. They have to have episodes that are just information dumps and I just
look at it more as it's only 6 episodes, and I don't know what they're trying to achieve with the series. Like, I don't know if by the 6th episode we have like a new Captain America, or like it's setting these characters up to be in the next Marvel film of whatever that may be. Like, I don't know where they want to put these characters by the end of the series. That like, hey, we started here, and we're going to get them to here so that they can be in the next Black Widow movie or whatever the case, like Black Widow 2 or whatever comes up. But I enjoyed it. It's not like I didn't like it. It's not like I was like, oh, this is terrible, I'll never watch it again. It was just it didn't blow me away in any stretch. It was like a solid 7.75 for me out of 10. Like,
that's where I would put it too, though. I'm not calling it a 9 out of 10 or anything. For me, I just think like I try to put it into perspective, right? It's like, look, if we get 6 hours of content here, or 5 hours, or 5.5 hours of content, let's call it, right? Yeah. If you took all the good stuff out, it's probably going to make about a 2-hour movie. So we're kind of just getting like the extended version. So I'm okay with that. Like, and to be honest with you, one of the things that I feel like they're kind of hinting at here, because I feel like it was kind of brought up twice, like in 2 different ways, is I feel like they're going to spend some time in this series really exploring the blip and like what happened in that 5 years. It seems like, because like they talked about it, they referenced it with Sam being gone, they referenced it like it's like it seems like it keeps being kind of brought up in different ways, and I'm just like, I don't know, something tells me that like they're gonna that's like maybe a main plot point here, or maybe a driver of Baron Zemo or something like that comes from something like that, even with the Flag Smashers wanting, like, I don't know, I feel like it's gonna play into that in a big way, and again, to me that excites me. Like, it's cool for them to be revisiting something like that in such a way. Like, it's cool, right?
I agree with you, and I think that's a really interesting place to explore. Like,
me too.
When in Endgame, when Ant-Man first comes back from the quantum realm, and he's like walking down the street, and like all the cars are abandoned on the side of the road, and like things are overgrown, and there's like that little kid kind of biking down the street, and he's like, hey, kid, what happened? And the kid just kind of like shrugs at him and fucks off. Like, I'm really interested to see the daily lives of people and how they were affected, and like I don't know, like I think that's a really interesting part, but like I've always been super, super into like post-apocalyptic media. Like I love zombie stuff. I love, Last of Us, the video game is my favorite game of all time. So it's like I love post-apocalyptic stuff. So like bring in all that stuff of like how the world changed overnight and like how people's lives changed overnight and like what were people doing? Did people try to figure out what the hell happened, or did people immediately know, like, oh, Thanos snapped, and like, what happened? What was the media like? What was affected? And like, to see the superhero side of it, of like what all happened in those 5 years, that the people that weren't snapped away, what were they trying to do outside of like what we saw in Infinity War? I think Endgame, I think is super fascinating.
Yeah. I hope that we explored it in a big way, and I hope that it, the cool thing is like Bucky and Cap or Bucky and Sam were both snapped away too, right? So like they'll fall into that group too of, that disrupting their kind of lives too, right?
Yeah, totally. Like I think we may get like a flashback of Sam's sister Sarah, like what happened the day like the snap happened, like seeing her. Like she said,
how great would that be? Because even though he was in battle, but it would still, yeah.
Right, like she said, like she lost everything that day, and then like when they're in the bank, he called her Mrs. Wilson, and she's like, Miss, I'm a widow, and like I'm kind of curious, like maybe what happened to her husband, like maybe they'll show that and explore her as a character. Mm-hmm. I think that could be super fascinating, kind of make her more likable, because I felt she was kind of unlikable during the entire episode.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
But I think that could be a super interesting. I don't know if we'll have enough time. Like I don't know what they want to achieve. Like maybe the next episode, maybe we'll never see her again, and this is going to be a Bucky and Falcon storyline, and that pushes forward. Who knows?
Imagine the next episode starts with Bucky just walking up to Sam and his sister, and then he just shoots her in the head. They're like, "Let's go on a mission."
Yeah, exactly. It's like we gotta go. What do you think? Like, where do you see the end of this going? Like, do you think we'll get an old Cap cameo or anything?
I would love to say yeah, because I feel like it would make sense. If anywhere, it would make sense here. Because
they kind of made it sound like Cap was gone.
Yeah,
like he said, like, but I think Sam said that several times. Like, Cap's gone now. Cap's gone, and I don't know if they intend that to mean that like he died as an old man, or if they intend that to mean,
Kate asked me that too when he was at the ceremony where he was giving the shield over. She's like, "Did Cap die?" And I said, "Didn't he go to another thing?" And then she's like, "Yeah, but he lived out his life and he's there." I go, "Yeah, right. I guess."
So I kind of think they have to touch on that in some way, like maybe even not like get Chris Evans back necessarily, but just what happened in like, did he just die an old man bedside?
Just use Joe Biden footage.
Exactly, spot on.
Dude, Stephen Colbert does the funniest Joe Biden impression. All he does is he just puts on these aviator sunglasses. Yeah. So good.
Do you think like we'll get like a Falcon and Winter Soldier movie after this, or another season, or like what do you?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to say, right? Because did you hear now they're saying that there's a possibility that WandaVision might get a sequel now too, right? So I feel like this always happens, is even if it's supposed to be a one-off, but then it does really well, then they're like, oh well, maybe we'll do another one.
I think like Winter Soldier is kind of like a spy movie, and kind of like, I mean, it's an action flick, but there's spy elements to it. And I think like a really cool Winter Soldier standalone movie of like kind of like a spy Mission Impossible kind of flick.
Espionage?
Yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting like movie. And maybe that's what they're trying to achieve with the Black Widow movie. And so maybe once we see that, it won't really make sense as much. But like, I feel like a lot of the films kind of have a similar tone, and taking like a different look at it, and like, hey, this is a espionage spy movie, a la Mission Impossible style kind of flick of like tech, and like, we got to go in and assassinate this dude, and like whatever. Like, I think that'd be kind of interesting. It's a more sneaky movie rather than like explosion, flying in, explosion.
Yeah. I think. yeah, sorry, I don't know. My mind just kind of cleared there. My apologies. I thought I had something on my mind, but apparently I don't.
Sorry. I don't know. Even Falcon, like I assume by the end of the series we're gonna get Falcon as the new Captain America. I think
so too.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but like, does he get the super soldier serum?
I hope so. I feel like they need to do that. Like, I feel like that's kind of an important piece to it. They need to give him they need him to be able to stand up to bigger threats. Like I said, if he ever, he's Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America, could like get punched by Thanos and get back up. Like, if Thanos punched like Sam, his head would blow up. like it would just it'd be game over. Like, there'd be no chance, right? But see, the thing is like, I don't see Bucky ending up holding the shield, even though in the comics that did happen too. But like, I don't see it happening because like, I feel like everything in his past would really prevent everybody from being behind that, right? Whereas Sam doesn't really have that history, right? Like, right. Like Buck's like a fucking like assassin who killed like major people, right? Like serious players.
No, totally.
But I mean, I do think too. Like, I do hope that we get like by the end, like it's established that like Sam and Bucky are like a team. Like, I would love to see that go on, right? Because I'm excited for that energy between the two of them.
I love their like brotherly dynamic of like they kind of fuck with each other, but they're kind of friends. Like, I think it's Civil War when like they pick up Winter Soldier and he's in the back seat and he's like, move up your seat, and he's like, no, and he's like, all right, I'll shift to the middle. Like, I like that kind of like jokey, like kind of best friendy dynamic between the two. So like, I hope like a buddy cop style film kind of between them of like, they don't really like each other, but they got to work with each other and they got to depend on each other is like a fun dynamic.
I agree totally. And it reminds me of the other scene in that movie where they're together is when they're trying to get Spider-Man in the airport hangar at the beginning there. Yeah. And then he kind of outsmarts him. And when they both fall, remember he falls through the glass or whatever, laying on the floor, like, I hate you.
So good.
Yeah.
And like after watching Endgame last night, I think that's the only the third time I watched it.
Yep.
I still bawled my eyes out. Like, fuck that movie.
Yeah. It's pretty good. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It's ridiculous. I cried 3 different times during that movie. Like, it's just, it knows how to pull on my heartstrings, but
it sure does.
I really hope the Hawkeye show really dives into Hawkeye as Ronin. That'd
be cool. I feel like that was a wasted plot line. Like, it's just like,
you got like a 4-minute segment of him as Ronin in that movie, and like, I think it's just such a badass, like a cool Japanese style, like samurai movie. I think would be awesome.
I think we will, because I just question what you can talk about with Hawkeye.
Yeah, like where does that character go, and how do you do a Hawkeye series? Like, I almost think that.
And is this the end too? Like I just don't know where else you put Hawkeye at this point, right?
Right, but like I think that'd be a cool misdirection of like you think you're getting a Hawkeye show, but it's actually a Ronin show.
That'd be cool.
Like,
I think a big part of this is about him training the new Hawkeye, though, right? Training Kate Bishop.
Oh, okay.
Because like in the Young Avengers, she's kind of the Hawkeye. So I think that's kind of where they're leading right now. They're kind of queuing up the Young Avengers breadcrumbs. They're kind of leaving them everywhere.
Well, maybe though, like the first episode maybe shows like him as Ronin or something like that, and then him like I don't know. I do
think they'll explore that. I do think that they'll add context. Why wouldn't they? They have a long form to finally do it.
Well, if every show kind of touches on what happened during the snap, those 5 years, I think it'd be really creative to show like Hawkeye during those 5 years, and like him fucking off after he loses his entire family, and like I assume he was in Japan or whatever place he was in, and like him being basically like a samurai, assassin or whatever. Like, I think that'd be a really cool look. And then jump into him training the next Hawkeye and like him retiring and wanting to be, I'm done with the superhero game. I got my family back. I'm done. Whatever. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from that Hawkeye show. But I mean, like, I don't mind Hawkeye MCU. I just feel like at this point, like, at the beginning it made sense because everything else was kind of grounded. But now that we have stuff like Captain Marvel and I feel like he's just so out of place. Like it just needs to go, right? Like, and it's nothing against, I mean, I don't really necessarily love Jeremy Renner, but like, I don't mind his Hawkeye, right? And like, there's a lot of things that he has done in even like the Avengers, right? Like, I remember his little speech to Wanda in Age of Ultron. Like, to me, like, those are the defining moments I love about that character. Is like, he realizes, like, I'm fighting an alien with a bow and arrow. Like, this is fucking so stupid.
No, and I like that they call that out and like they point that out. Like, you don't have to put that in the script. You could take it serious and be like, no, he's a badass with an arrow. Like, you're stupid for not thinking he could do this. But like, they call it out of like, yeah, this is a stupid premise. Like, he's a guy with an arrow or a bow and arrow, and like, I like that aspect. And
Me too.
yeah, I agree with you. Like, he's very out of place now. Now that we're going further and further into space and magic and wizardry and all that stuff, he doesn't fit in anymore. So it'd be very interesting to see like him kind of put down the bow and arrow, train somebody new, and move on with that. But I mean, I definitely think that if you're bringing in Fantastic Four and the X-Men, it has to go in a more, you know, not necessarily magical, but like, you know, fantasy way, I guess. Like, it can't be based in realism anymore because there's nothing very realistic left.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I wonder if they're gonna make him. I think in the comic books, Hawkeye's deaf. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
I think so, or blind. Maybe one or the other. I can't remember. Maybe he's blind. I think he might be blind.
I don't know. Like, it's never a character I got into. So
yeah, me neither. Wasn't really that big into him.
But yeah, like I definitely hope that this sets up where they're going next, and like, it'd be cool if by the series end we know like, oh, we're getting a season 2, or oh, we're getting a Falcon movie, or they're showing up in Spider-Man 3, like whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it'll end just on Sam becoming established as Captain America. That's what I think. I don't think it'll go. I think they'll leave it at that, and then they may dangle, like, if there's any loose threads, they may dangle those in post credit. But yeah,
that's smart. That's smart because it leaves it open.
Yeah.
I'm
excited to see Zemo come back. I thought Zemo was a really interesting villain, and now that he looks more like the comics too with his purple mask, I'm excited, and I'm curious about him because, like, I wonder if he was like alive during the blip or not alive. Like, I wonder if he's behind the Flag Smashers, maybe. Or...
I assume so. But like, the fact that they didn't even touch on him, I kind of was like, all right. I kind of feel like it's got the Wanda problem of like, you kind of should have set up this villain earlier on to establish them and everything like that. But I mean, I guess they established them in whatever Civil War or whatever the fuck it was. So I'm interested to see like where they bring him as a character. Like, to bring him and GSP back, I'm like, okay, you're going somewhere with these characters. Like, you know,
I hope that what we've seen of GSP is done, and not because I don't like him, but because, to me, this is what I ultimately hope we get to with the MCU. Is there's so many characters that so for Kate, when I see GSP on, I'm like, it's Baltrock. That's sweet, right? And then, like, you know, she doesn't even, I know she watched Winter Soldier with me. She doesn't remember that. She has no fucking clue. She had no idea who that was, nor did she give a shit. And like, I love that they do that and they just drop it, because it's another thing that is like a kind of a thank you to the people who have been around forever. Because, like, with or without that knowledge, it doesn't change anything. Like, it's still just exactly the same.
Kevin Feige, I don't know if I read an interview or if it was during, because I watched all the making. I watched the making of WandaVision. I watched all the little Legend 5-minute segments that they put on Disney Plus. At some point, I read the thing that Kevin Feige was like, "We want people that have never seen any of the movies or any of the Disney Plus shows to be able to watch the next film and enjoy it and understand it." Yeah. And then we also want people that have followed it the entire time to get extra little tidbits from it that they enjoy, and they go, "Oh, I know that guy. I know that's from this," so on and so forth. And like, I think they're nailing it. Like, there's nothing within the show today that if you hadn't seen previous items that you would be like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But
other than the blip.
Well, the blip, but like even then you can kind of assume, oh, something weird happens. Like maybe they'll explain it in the next episode. Like it wasn't like
doesn't add the depth though. Doesn't add the depth to the story.
It doesn't, but like it wasn't like a fundamental key part of the episode where like if you don't know what the blip is, you would be like, I don't know what the fuck's going on in the show.
I get that. Yeah.
And like, and I think that's like the cool part of it is like, yeah, we're so far in that to get like I said, like I was trying to get my parents to watch these movies and like to get them to commit to watching 23 films, a TV show, a second TV show, like it's just not going to happen.
No, I know. But don't you think, though, that in a way that's a little bit of a bummer? Because I understand why they wouldn't want to alienate people who don't get a Disney Plus account. I do understand that. But, like, basically saying, hey, what happens in these shows, whether you know it or not, it's irrelevant. Like, doesn't that in a lot of... What's that?
They're not saying that, though, because they did say, like, if you haven't seen WandaVision, there's going to be elements of Doctor Strange 2 that's going to be a little bit confusing and like not confusing in like I don't know what's going on in this movie anymore, but like confusing in like there's gonna be things that happen in the movie that you're gonna not understand because you hadn't seen WandaVision. And I like that. Like I think there's a strict balance there. It's the same with the first Avengers movie, right? Mm-hmm. Before the first Avengers movie came out, we all go, how the fuck are they gonna balance all these characters in a film? And like, I mean, Joss Whedon's fallen off the map now with all his, bullshit that's happened to him, but not bullshit as in it's not true, bullshit as in he's a fucking asshole, but you know what I mean? As a fan of Buffy, watching when they picked Joss Whedon as the director, I'm like, this is perfect choice for a director because he knew how to balance the characters. 5-6 people. And they did that perfectly in Avengers. And now present day, like after Infinity War and everything like that, where you had not 5 or 6 characters, but like 25, 30 characters, they know how to balance storylines appropriately to like, okay, we're going to pull this guy in for 5 minutes. He's not maybe exclusive to this film, but he's going to have a character moment and then he's going to bounce for the rest of the film. Yeah. But if you appreciate that character, you're going to understand his 5-minute role even better and appreciate that, that segment of the movie. And,
totally. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Like, I feel like that's the biggest downfall of DC is because everything's not interconnected and some things are connected, but some things aren't connected. And like, I was going to sit down and watch the 4-hour Justice League Zack Snyder cut. I still probably will, but like it's just like I don't know if I even want to bother committing 4 hours to this. Like the Justice League original cut was terrible, and you can shine a turd, but it's still a turd. And 4 hours of my life to a Justice League movie that's probably not going to be canon in 5 years because they're going to.
It's not canon. It's not canon right now. Like they've come right out and said this is its own thing. This is not canon.
And that's what I mean. Like. They're already recasting Batman. They're already talking about how the Flash movie may or may not happen. They've canceled the Cyborg movie. Wonder Woman 1984 was trash. Where do they go from there? Like, all these things that they want to build on. I'm like, I don't know what's canon, what's not. Joker wasn't canon. The next Batman movie is not part of the DCEU. I'm like, this is why DC is fucking up royally, is because nothing's interconnected, nothing matters, everything's kind of throwaway.
The thing is at this point, if they wanted to have any cohesive type of universe, they need to start over at this point because it'd be way too confusing. And like, I think they'd be better off just trying to not have a cinematic universe. Like, again, like you don't need to explain, like if all of a sudden Jason Momoa shows up as Aquaman next to Robert Pattinson, like if they get to the point where they just stop, they kind of treat it like it can just be its own thing. It doesn't need to be all interconnected. It's just you get to enjoy Aquaman and Batman for a bit, but you don't need to explain why he's there. You just the character and that's it, right? Yeah. But that's where I think like DC, like they just tried. I mean, I'm not the best person to say it because I stopped watching after the first Justice League.
But like I also look at it as the tone of those movies are so different.
They're so boring. To me, they're boring.
Well, it's not even the boring aspect. It's Superman is a space alien, and you try to make him super realistic so that it meshed with Batman. And what Marvel's done really well is they've bought into, no, there's a whole space thing going on, and we're not going to try to make that realistic. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And there's a whole world out there that is super weird and corny and sometimes fun and sometimes dumb, but it's all enjoyable. But we're going to mesh that with the reality of Captain America in World War II, and we're gonna mesh that with Iron Man and all his tech, and it does work well because you have somebody overseeing it all.
Yes.
But the DC thing is like we're trying to bring in Wonder Woman and this whole like Amazon warrior thing, but we're gonna mesh it with Aquaman, and it doesn't really suit each other well, and they never have found the balance of the tone of what they want to push forward. And I think like having Zack Snyder as the director was just a misfire, because any Zack Snyder movie I've watched, I've really thought like, wow, this is visually executed amazingly. He's a great director. Like the way he shoots things and the way things look are always excellent. But the scripts and the actual like film are usually really poorly done. And like I hated 300.
Did you? I didn't mind 300. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought 300 was terrible, but like Dawn of the Dead remake, I loved. I think it's like one of the best remakes ever made.
Yep,
but a lot of his other films that he did since then, and to
do you like Watchmen?
It's fine.
I really like Watchmen. So like Watchmen is like I quite like it.
I found it pretty boring. Like I love the Watchmen HBO show. I kind of felt like the Watchmen movie was way too long. Yeah. I would have cut probably an hour from that film.
They're probably just trying to stay as close to the book as they could. But yeah, because I thought they did a pretty good job at that. I actually quite like the graphic novel. It's one of the few that like really stand out to me and like kind of have held over time. I liked it. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like the DC universe was set up in such a way that it would have made really big sense to tie in the television shows and the movies and really made that world mesh. And the fact that like the Flash show, at least the first few seasons, was excellent. I haven't watched it since like season 3. It kind of fell off a cliff after the first 2 seasons, but the original Flash 2 seasons was excellent. Green Arrow was originally the first few seasons was excellent. They were just like, oh, those exist somewhere over here. We're going to recast the Flash. We're going to recast it. That's a different universe. This is our universe. Yeah. And then they made the Joker movie, and they were like, oh, the Joker isn't part of the universe. It's just a standalone movie. And I'm like, you've lost the plot. Like,
yeah.
If you want to build a universe, you have to build a universe. And if you don't want to build a universe, that's fine. But don't pretend that you are.
That's the thing, is like it just confuses the general audience. Like if you're not really fully in it, like it's hard to follow, right? Yeah. Especially when you have a character, and like, you know, I use Spider-Man as an example. I think Marvel's done a really good job at defining who that version of Spider-Man is, right? He's very different from his predecessors, and like, but like it's harder to do that with the Batman, and because you know, it's like I feel like the Snyderverse stuff is very much in the same like vein, like aesthetically, or not aesthetically, but like in the same vein as like the Christian Bale stuff, whereas you know the older like Tim Burton stuff is a bit more comic booky. It's a bit more colorful, right? Like it's
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I obviously won't watch Justice League. I was, you know, I'm happy for like, so I don't know how many, if you've seen any reviews, but like, you know, most of my friends like are DC fans, like especially my local friends that I kind of chat with, and like, you know, it seems like for the most part, the feedback is relatively positive, and most of them are saying that it like, you know, destroys the original one, right? I have seen some negative ones too, but I feel like it's one of those things that's going to be like split pretty evenly, right? Like there's going to be people who are like, why would you invest more money in this dog shit? That was me, even though I don't care to watch it and I won't watch it. But it's still, to me, I look at it as more of a like, this movie is like one of the biggest money losers for any studio in like history ever. Like, why would you ever invest more into it? But I guess that there's enough interest here where it seems like it may work out in their favor. So I don't know. But
I think, look, I understand the situation of Zack Snyder deserved a second chance in that movie. The stuff that happened to him during the shot, like the filming of the movie, like for people that don't know, his daughter died during while he was directing that movie. So he had like a lot of family issues going on, and he left the project, and they replaced him with Joss Whedon. And like I feel bad for the man. Like that's a terrible tragedy that, like, you know, that sucks. And the fact that he gets to come back and kind of like finish the vision he had, I think that's cool and that's awesome. But again, like, just because you could do the film doesn't mean you should have done the film. And like Justice League was a bad film, and yeah, maybe that didn't commit to his vision, and like maybe the new Justice League is great, but again, if you need 4 hours to commit to the movie, I just feel like you haven't developed the characters very well. But
we know that, right? Like that's what made the it all seem so flat. Is like,
sure, but like,
you know, it's like I remember when they bring in these characters and they like expect you to give a shit, and you're like, who are you again? Like no one cares.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, and I mean, I don't know. I just look at it as if you're not going to carry on to Justice League 2 and you're recasting half these characters anyway, then what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's convoluted and it's weird, but I guess they're just going to roll with it because at this point, what do you do? It's like the X-Men movies, right? It's just continuity errors all over the place, and it's just like, at this point, you just roll the dice. You just fucking give her. Who gives a shit? It's just, you're so far gone at this point. Too. In what way?
That they needed somebody to oversee the storyline. They needed somebody to write a story and say, this is what we're trying to achieve in 3 films or in 10 films or in 25 films. This is the vision that we have, that I don't care if you need 16 different directors to commit to that vision.
Yeah.
This is the storyline, and you can play within that storyline, but this is the character beats that you need to achieve during that film so that it connects to the next film.
Right.
And this is the story moments that you need, and you can create and change things intermittently within that doesn't drastically change the storyline. You can have character moments that you write in, but overall, this is the stuff that we need to achieve to fit the universe. And Star Wars fucked that up too. It was like, you know, J.J. Abrams comes in for 7. Well, J.J. Abrams should have came back for 8 and 9. And
I agree.
They should have signed him for a trilogy and said, okay, write your storyline, write what you want to achieve in this next 3 films, and commit to it and direct it. And instead they said, no, we're going to get 3 different people to come in and they're going to do whatever they want with these films. And that's why they're so broken and they don't work as a trilogy.
Yeah, there's no arguing that one.
Right. And then this is what I'm saying with DC as well, is like, you have 15 different visions trying to commit to a storyline, and they all have their own ideas, and that's fine if you're not trying to build a universe. But when you are trying to build a universe,
when you want it to be cohesive, you need exactly, that's where, again, and like, I know we've said this on this thing multiple times, but it's like, that's why Marvel wins, is like they take slow approach to everything. So it's like they'll drop a crumb, and then 7 years later they'll revisit it, and it's like, that's what makes this stuff so compelling and so interesting, is like, and then at that point is once you've got that gap, you have all that room to be able to explore and see what that character was up to, and you can always go back to it. You can, you know what I mean? Like, so it's really cool. It's awesome. It's so fun.
It makes being a fan feel something. Like, it makes you appreciate being a fan because it feels like your time is worth something.
Yes, and it's exactly like a comic book. That's what makes comic books so fun, is it's all in the same universe. You could be reading an X-Men comic and all of a sudden Spider-Man shows up and he hangs out with them for the episode or the issue, and then...
And if you read every issue, there's going to be moments by issue 7, issue 10, whatever, that they go, that's a callback to issue 6.
Yep. And
I read that issue, and I appreciate that in issue 13, they call back that moment in issue 6.
Yep.
And that's what the films feel like, is they're all issues of the same comic book, and they work together.
Yeah, I agree. So,
sorry,
go ahead.
Before we're done here, I do have a special guest.
Oh. Oh dear, what's gonna happen?
I'm Batman.
I see that. Finnegan agrees.
I found this mask while digging through my closet, and I was like, I gotta use this for something.
That's funny. I was gonna see if we could find some Winter Soldier and Falcon filters on here, and we.
They gotta exist.
That's too funny.
Yeah, like I don't know. I really hope that this show ends in a place where we get more of it and the universe just keeps building out. And I really, really, really am banking on that Black Widow doesn't get delayed.
I don't think it will. I think they can afford another month, but I feel like anything beyond that's going to fuck everything up. So,
well, I just worried. I mean, they just delayed Venom 2, and
that sucks.
Yeah, it got pushed.
That doesn't really, but
I think it got pushed from June till September or something like that. But I just really feel like they're waiting to the last moment to delay it, and it's getting to a point where maybe the States is in a better spot where they'll open movie theaters and things haven't closed, and most of the states are open to go see it. But definitely from my standpoint in Ontario, Canada, like we are nowhere near ready to open movie theaters.
There's no way they are in the States either. But the thing is they're all opening up like it's all been problem solved. It's all this.
I know they don't care, but I don't know. Just from my viewpoint here, like the rollout of the vaccine has been really, really poorly handled. Mm-hmm. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get vaccinated. I would assume it's not going to be before May. Like
maybe you guys will get preference. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you probably don't know this, but like out in BC here, they just announced that grocery store workers are going to be eligible to get the shot, I think at the beginning of May or something like that.
Yeah. So like I asked my boss and a few people at work and stuff about if we were being able to, like, as frontline workers, if we were going to get vaccinations earlier than we would assume. They have heard rumblings that they possibly want to do it in April, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
The numbers are very, very low for how many people are going to be vaccinated every day.
All I will say is I try to be optimistic about this because I look at what's happened in the States and I feel like initially what happened in the States was very poorly done and very poorly rolled out. But now that they've gotten some momentum, the fact that we're seeing things turn around so quickly there, it's like, it's really reassuring, right? And I think that if they get to the point where they're that far ahead, it's only going to benefit us in Canada too. So like, I think everyone just needs to hold out just a fucking wee bit longer, and then we can figure out kind of what comes next, right? So
I totally agree with you, but I mean, the border's been closed for a year, basically. Like,
yeah, man, it's crazy.
They're not at a point where we're ready to reopen anything. At least as of now, this is March 20th. Mm-hmm. I don't know by May 4th or 5th or whatever the hell the movie comes out on, if we're going to be in any better of a spot. Like, I hope we are, but they just announced today, like, they're lowering the 80 plus age range for vaccinations down to 75 plus, and I'm like, well, I'm 35, so
yeah, but because you're a frontline worker, you'll benefit from that at least, so that's good.
I hope. I mean, I don't, like I said, like I said this to people at work, I don't want to take away the vaccination from anybody that actually needs it.
Yeah, but you should though, because you put yourself at risk. So like, I agree, I get what you're saying, but I
would rather my mom and like my dad already got vaccinated, but like I want my mom to get vaccinated. I want people that are
Are we gonna run out of time?
Yeah, to get vaccinated before I do, but like I hope that the vaccination rolls out soon enough where like the movie theater opens, but if it doesn't, I really hope they put it on Disney Plus.
Me too.
I would really love to just be able to, like, on my birthday, stream Black Widow on my big screen TV.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope. We're going to run out of time, right?
Yeah, we got 10 seconds. So
10 seconds.
Thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate your time and you coming back every week. And please follow Matt at Custom by Matthew and follow me on YouTube. And we'll see you next week.